become so individualistic, so competitive, so success orientated, goal orientated, that bringing back, process orientation, attention to journey, there is no there. Like, these are pretty powerful ways you can help people come back into themselves. Now,
welcome to Back into Alignment. We have today Briar Jacques, who is the founder of the Free Spirit Collective space in Dubai. She's a holistic psychologist, and she brings today the importance of understanding how we navigate social media to avoid comparison and self-criticism. We will be talking about the acceptance and commitment therapy, as well as astrology, and how we can see the big vision in front of us to be having clarity and intention in our life. We are excited to have Briar Jacques. She's also a yoga teacher, and she will be sharing her journey and story of life with us. So I welcome you to feel comfortable, to get a glass of water or a tea, and to enjoy the next 30 minutes conversation. Hello, happy Friday, and welcome to Back into Alignment here. Joa Rivas, it's been 6 years with this podcast, and thank you so much for being here. You perhaps are driving, maybe you are cooking, maybe you're just walking, taking a stroll with your dog. No matter where you are, this podcast is for those that are looking to be back into alignment, and back into alignment means to be back into your element, something that sparkles your soul. And at the beginning of this journey for myself, when I created the podcast, as you remember, I started with the spinal health because that's what's sparkling my journey. I needed to know more and discover more about why my spine was having so many issues. And I learned so much with interviewing doctors, because one of the best ways to learn is by asking questions. Today, we have a great guest speaker who is also, for me, thought leader of Dubai as a mindfulness expert. She has a long studies related to tapping into our soul journey. And it's not easy to go into this type of industries or this type of knowledge, just because the normal way is always related to creating some kind of money exchange. And sometimes many of these practices are coming more from the willingness of learning. So for me, it's always a pleasure to interview people that are tapping into their journey and being able to exchange energies with everybody around, especially creating this social impact where they are allowing people to tap into their emotions and also transfer themselves through their own inner work. So thank you so much, Briar Jacques. I'm super excited to have it. Because I truly believe that women are creators. How are you today?
good, thanks, Charlie. Really good. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, today is Friday, so we are definitely always knowing that by Friday we slow down a little bit and we connect on the weekend with our nature, and perhaps you are preparing yourself to relax. But every Friday I post a podcast where I can share a little bit of the stories that actually will bring inspiration to us. Today we have Briar, and as you heard before, she has studied a lot of holistic approaches for her own self, and also to share with the community. Right now, she is putting a lot of effort into learning about astrology and also sharing this knowledge to everyone, which it actually has been verified that astrology is not just woo-woo. It actually has some science behind. Of course, we're part of a cosmos. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your journey. Briar, as you heard before, is also the founder of Free Spirit Collective space here in Dubai, where you can come to this beautiful space. You can simply feel how the high vibrations of the place. You can pick a book. You can read a book if you want. You can meet Briar. She is a psychologist and a holistic psychologist. That means that she incorporates a lot of different practices. So tell me, Briar, when I stepped into the Free Spirit Collective, I felt right away that vibe of relaxation is something that we feel in certain places. And I felt that in your space. Tell me a little bit about how you created this space and how has been the evolution so far in City Walk in Dubai.
Oh, yeah, it's well, first of all, it's been a complete joint effort with me and a whole group of people, right? So our premise, our idea is there isn't just one pathway to well-being, and there isn't just one pathway to understanding the mind or the body or the emotions. You know, obviously there are just so many. And so our idea is to pull together a collective, a group of people all working with the same goal, which is to alleviate suffering and to help people flourish and grow. And they're all coming from a different modality. So it's been really great, you know, to build that, to come together, to learn from each other. And I think what you feel when you walk in there, and loads of people say this to us, is just, I think the intentionality. We're values based, so we've drawn a lot of people who share the same values. And I think when that happens and you get community together like that, it just energizes the space. And also I pay attention to space clearing and playing the right mantras and things like that. But yeah, it's been really great so far.
So as you hear, she's very humble. She actually didn't take all the credits. She actually commented that as the Free Spirit Collective, it actually started from the source of many people together that created this space. But I know that she's the founder. She probably had the idea, and many times we do have to have a leader that creates that anchor for everyone to just to create a container, right, for everybody to be part of it. And it's true, there is no business or no ideas that's going to be developed by only one. It's definitely a connection of so many thoughts, ideas, emotions of so many collective communities. So I'm happy that you also started with that, where you also tell us that your team is amazing. Actually, your reception team, it gives you that feeling of welcoming. And every practitioner that you're working with are also aligned with your core values, which is very important and very hard to actually align. But I'm happy that you found this group of support. Now, in the space, can you please tell us where is the biggest challenge where people come here to find a solution, and then what would be the trigger of that challenge? Let's say if it's anxiety, like I'm actually originally from Canada, from Toronto, and in Canada, working on mental health is very important because the suicidal events are really high, especially within the winter time. So if you can tell us a little bit about what's the environmental and social support that you see that is happening right now in Dubai.
Mm. So it's interesting. In mental health, we talk a lot about sort of challenges like suicidality, like depression, like anxiety, and we sort of think of those as the things to focus on. But if you go deeper and you look sort of what is causing these types of things in the world, right? Now, obviously, that's going to be a whole range of things. My view, and what I see a lot of in Dubai, but I think I would see it anywhere, is when people have lost connection to what I think of as like an enchanted worldview or universe, you know, this kind of connection with meaning and purpose and community. And I think that will manifest in lots of different mental and emotional challenges. You know, I think human beings are created, they're wired to be working together creatively around different sort of campfires, if you will. And we've lost that so much. We've become so individualistic, so competitive, so success orientated, goal orientated, that bringing back, you know, process orientation, attention to journey, there is no there. Like these are pretty powerful ways you can help people come back into themselves. Now, you can do that through a clinical modality or a holistic modality or coaching modality. It doesn't really matter. Physical modality, but that's what it's targeting, I think, is the point. Is you're helping someone open up to a worldview that they can live in with more sustainability than just, I'm here to develop myself and then defend that identity. It just doesn't work. You know, it's got to be about more. That's my thoughts on it.
What's the feeling that you get is people that are looking into the why am I in the world for, or what's my purpose kind of approach. But then it comes into also, because I want everyone to listen to this conversation, especially if you are in Dubai, you must stop in this space for you to actually feel what we are actually talking about and experience some of the events and some of the particular sessions that you can actually take yourself. So one of the questions is this space that you created with your amazing teamwork only for women, or this is actually for anyone? And also, what age is the most common age that you receive right now?
Yeah, so it's for absolutely everyone, men, women, children, families, all the way. I think our youngest client's probably about 2.
Oh,
And our oldest client is, the sky's the limit, like as old as possible would be wonderful, because it's for across the lifespan. So
okay.
we do everything from family work to couples work to individual group, you name it. And it's just, that's why we've tried to create such a diverse team, is so we've got something that will work for most everybody. And of course, Dubai is the most culturally diverse city on the planet per square foot. So you've got to really approach things from this kind of multidimensional perspective.
Okay, so now we spoke about, so the most typical need is that people come to your place because they are looking a sense of purpose, or what am I locating in my community? And usually you get this, and then you will screen them, and then you will guide them into, hey, you know, this therapy will be the best for you, or how would the process be? I'm just kind of imagining for people that are looking into some kind of unique approach. Like, what would you do for someone that comes with this maybe loneliness, or maybe a lack of, like you say, lack of belonging? Like, what would you do from that point?
Sure. Well, I mean, you've got to meet people where they are. So like I focus on holistic work, which just means whole person, right? But it gets understood as kind of, I guess, more the alternate approaches or the non-mainstream medical approaches. But I'm never going to put that upon somebody. I'm going to look to meet them where they are. So people will come in, they'll ring up, I'm anxious, I'm having panic attacks. And so the first point of call will be to understand that symptomology. And then from there, you take someone on a journey. Now, you know, if somebody's storying their issue as, you know, an anxiety disorder or a panic disorder or something like this, I'm not going to say, no, it's really loneliness. I'm not going to go there straight away. You know, of course, people will find what they need over time. But what we tend to do is we listen to them, and then we have this lovely range of therapists and therapies that we can select from, and we do our best to match them as a point of entry. Now, if they get into a session and then that's not a fit, then that therapist will help them find the person who is. So our goal is that they find someone they can do some depth work with and get what they need and what they want. And then from there, there's loads of other things they can access within the center. There's free groups, there's learning courses, there's all sorts, but usually the start is with that right therapist or coach. So that's what we try and get right.
Yes, for sure. And when you treat these singles, individuals, or groups, do you notice that there is a common element of a gap that they are trying to not to feel, but maybe to understand, to be able to go through that, let's say, financial pressure? Like, do you find that maybe that is a point that is affecting a lot of people in their mind, or maybe the social media pressure, or comparing the life with someone from the family? Is there a particular element that you notice in this year that is happening more often than before?
Yeah, definitely. You're right. Like, there's been an uptick. The social media obviously has great benefits, but then it comes with some things you've got to manage too. And that's suffering. We call it suffering through comparison, where people are able to compare kind of their own messy selves that they're intimately aware of with this kind of hyper perfect image that gets put out there. And this is it happens so fast, it's not even a conscious rational choice, it's just happening to them all the time. So yeah, confidence issues, self-criticism, stuff to do with how especially women are relating to their bodies, to how they look, to aging, and then competition, fast-paced lifestyle in Dubai, burnout culture, all of these things. These are main themes, and post-COVID, we've seen more. So also health anxiety. health anxiety too, since COVID. So, there's all those things. And what'll bring someone in the door might be something kind of like that, like an acute suffering. But then ideally, you want the work, once they start to understand that and work with that inside themselves, you want the work to be about what we call broaden and build. So then it becomes about, what do I want to learn? How do I want to grow? What do I want to develop? So, I like to use the analogy of sometimes you're just putting out a fire in the house and you've got to put out the fire. So that might be a panic disorder, right? Or an OCD tendency. Once the fire's out, you're able to decide if you want to put on a porch or put in a pool. And you can't do those at the same time. So we do a lot of fire dousing with people, and then we do a lot of remodeling. And people can design their own journey really through our place. That's what it's meant to be. That's why we did it.
Yeah, it's a common problematic all over the world. I've seen this happening in Canada. I actually live in Australia. Originally, you are from Australia, and I live in Sydney.
Yeah.
I felt a lot of loneliness in the city, even though it's very cosmopolitan. I feel like there is a lot of small groups and a lot of separation, which is actually created now by the politicians now, creating so much of separation. So as you were commenting, Dubai has a lot of social media, I would say, market at this point, because the influencers are actually called influencers, and it's a profession, which in Canada, influencers is not a profession. So they are really serious here with social media. And I think it's important to develop as well a stream of, if you are actually identifying yourself as an influencer, like what type of structure are you using to guide people. And I feel like that's kind of what you could step up, or me, or someone that is a little more in the high consciousness of how can we guide a community in a way that, yes, it's not an issue to be posting in social media, but then what is the intention behind this, right? So I think now people like you and many people that are connecting now in that high consciousness, which I find in Dubai, there is a big community of high consciousness. I think that it's important for us to collectively work together. And that's why I'm happy to be always meeting people like you that created the Free Spirit Collective, that is actually a space where you put together so many people with the same desire to be able to be influencers in their communities in a high level. And that what you were also sharing now is like people come with these disruptions related to perhaps the triggering on the sounds of social media. Is it something specific that you would actually right now give us as a tip for those that feel that they keep scrolling or they keep searching for that dopamine in the social media, as a psychiatrist and also as a psychologist, and as a support in this particular space? What would you say to anyone that actually is open to practice one change in the social media approach?
Yeah. So you can't really change a part of your mind that might be a little attached to or even addicted to the scrolling. We get emotionally addicted to it, but as you said, we also get neurobiologically addicted to it because you get a hit of dopamine, right? So it's a very potent mix, emotional and all the fun and the craving and the part of you that wants to compare and feel like being part of a tribe, part of a village. That's what social media taps into emotionally, but also the neurobiological, right? So if you can have an argument with yourself in your head all day long about strategies, about I should put a diet on that, I should back off, I should read the research. But what I've noticed is, and I would say this for mental and emotional health across the board, you've got to go somewhere else to be able to deal with your mental health. In other words, that somewhere else is into your body, right? There's so much wisdom in the body that is untapped. We are disconnected from our bodies. We don't understand the language of our bodies. We think our bodies speak in words. They don't. Our body speaks in movement and in breath and in sensation. And so what I notice is people come into balance with these things, and I believe people can come into balance with anything when they're able to drop that locus down into the sensations into the body itself. And so you can do that in so many ways. I mean, my favorite way is yoga that I've always used, but because it's a very old system, you know. We look at psychology maybe at best is a few hundred years old. Yoga is 5,000 years old, right? So it's very wise system, but anything, just moving the body, breath work, sports of different descriptions, dancing, anything that you use your senses for. So from that place, if you're habituating that, what tends to happen is your natural intelligence starts to make choices about everything you engage with and ingest. You think about what you ingest with your food, what you ingest with social media, what you ingest with relationships you engage in. You just naturally start to want to do loving things for the self, because if you look at a little baby, that's our natural state. Before we develop a program, we're sharing, we're kind to ourselves, we don't beat ourselves up, we don't have any of that self-consciousness. That's our core state. And so that's still in us. And when you go to the body through meditation, that's a physical activity too, yoga, walking, moving, what happens is that state starts to dominate again. And then social media just becomes what it is. It's a really beautiful tool, like you said, for connecting and raising consciousness if we're using it with wisdom. And that's the job. It's not to be black and white. Oh, social media is bad and get into all this sort of, it's not. It's just it's a platform, you know, so how are you going to use it? Does that make sense? Going into the body is,
it's easy for you to say this and for me, because the same, both of us, we share in common that we're yoga teachers. And for me, that's the biggest skill I can ever learn in my life journey, because for me, yoga is union and it's an art of living. So we both know that deep inside, but a lot of people, when you say like tap into your body or what's the relationship with your body, people don't really know what that means. And I feel like the most important is to be aware that your body is the vessel that allows you to experience and perceive life. In this short trip, you have that sacred body, and the only way for us to become aware is simply by breathing and by monitoring or maybe visualizing the breath traveling in your body. It takes time to get into that. But even if you start with 3 minutes, why not? We actually had a Kundalini yoga teacher the last episode, and she was commenting that it's so as simple as starting with 1 minute, just to practice something new, and then slowly increase it to 3 minutes, and then 10, maybe 11, maybe 25 minutes. I mean, at the beginning, just a short attention, it will make a difference. So that's probably what would be the easier way, right? To say tap into your body. I love tap into my body. The practices that I practice normally is actually dancing. I feel like dancing, like nobody's watching, no dancing with a specific rhythm, or I actually love 5 rhythms, because 5 rhythms teaches you the ways of moving. It starts with the nourishing of us, like a woman, like a creation of flowing, and then it goes to a point that it just goes into cathartic, which is crazy, because I love the fact that hanging the head and just feeling all the body moving is so important. So I feel like dancing is very powerful, and I think I would say almost everybody likes dancing, and as you know, yoga was started from dancing, from moving the body. So it's very important. I know a lot of these topics for many people are really unusual because they're not in the space yet, but I'm happy that some people like you have created spaces that people can discover. Even one practice can sparkle that curiosity for learning more. Something that I love about your space is that you create events, weekly events, which is great for people to not only navigate their own journey, but also to witness other people transforming and knowing that their own challenges could be also shared with other integrants in the space. So it's actually important to be part of a social vibration where you actually see, okay, this is normal. This is how we're supposed to be connecting to other people, making these circles of connection are very important. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about the acceptance and commitment therapy? And because I think that's important for everyone to understand what it is. And also how this is actually tying into the social media, because actually if you don't accept yourself, most likely you're going to start trying to become someone else because the life that they show, which sometimes is just for marketing. So then you have this therapy called ACT. Can you please tell us about the ACT?
Sure. So acceptance commitment therapy, we say it as one word as ACT, because otherwise it sounds a bit like ECT, electrocognitive therapy. So yeah, but so ACT is a what's called a mindfulness-based third generation CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy approach.
Yeah.
So dealing with the mind, the thoughts and the behaviors, okay? But it's mindfulness based, so it's drawing from two things, from wisdom traditions that understand that human functioning is a set of processes. So it's what we call a process-based approach. And then also it draws a lot of its rationale from a theory called relational frame theory, which is a behavioral theory of language and cognition. So understanding how language works, what is this thing called language, and that we're all interacting with. So an ACT therapist focuses on a person and helps them come to a stance where they're not looking at their life as a problem to solve, but as an experience to be had. So that means there is plenty of room for emotional and physical states which are not ideal. So we're not trying to get rid of anxiety. So we're not sitting inside the happy, good, sad, bad type of dichotomy. We're saying a meaningful life, a full life, means all the feelings come. So how do we take a stance with whatever's coming in through my body, through my emotional system, whatever my mind is currently doing, where I'm aware and conscious, and I can still move my feet in the direction of what matters to me most. So we're helping a person design that, or not design that, but come back to that, to realize that within themselves. So as you can imagine, there's just loads of room to move as a therapist within that. And it's going to be, the therapy is going to be very unique to the individual. You know, an ACT journey for one person will look completely different to another. It's not a sort of out of the can modality. And so we use things like physical metaphors and stories and narrative and a lot of nonverbal, like what you said about the body, you know, even, you know, obviously if you do 5 rhythms or something really amazing like that, that's a beautiful exploration of what it is to be fully embodied. But for some people, like you said, that's a foreign thing, right? So what I might do in a normal therapy session is build what we call interoceptive awareness. So I'll sit with the person and maybe I'll feel they're very cut off from their body, and they'll be describing maybe a difficult sensation they're having or a different set of thoughts and feelings. And I'll say, can you just take your attention right now down to your feet? And they'll sort of look at me like I'm a weirdo, but then they find they can do that. And I'll say, can you notice what's here? It's like, well, I'm upset. Well, how are your feet feeling? Both those things are here. Now, it's not that the feet cure the feeling. That's not what I'm saying. But when you learn to move your attention like that interoceptive awareness, that gives you that place to go. So that's very what we call ACT consistent. So, you know, it's mindfulness based. It's getting into a relationship with the mind, understanding that we weren't born with the mind. It's something that's constructed from all of the things we've been through in education and language systems that we carry around in our mind, that we're never going to get that to line up or behave itself. It's not what a mind is. A mind's meant to be a bit wild and creative. That's what a mind is. I like to use the metaphor of a library. You know, the mind can be a beautiful library, and we want to curate it and have great titles in there. And some things will need to be pushed back to the stacks. But basically, what matters most is how you relate to that library. When are you going to go into it? When do you come out of it? When do you know that the answer can't be found in the library? The answer's got to come from something deeper that we can't really put language around. So everyone has their version of this. So yeah, I could talk about ACT and this therapist all day long.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to just interrupt me.
have another call. Yeah, for sure. I would love to have more conversations about the psychology, the mind behavior, and how can we retrain our mind. And as you were commenting, also where we put our attention, that's where we are going to start manifesting and looking evidence for. So it's important to be connected in a collective way where most of these souls are having a very similar attention into growth, into evolution, into willingness to understand where they are in the process of transformation. So it's very important, very powerful to be connecting on weekends with you and your community. I actually already joined 3 events together, and I always leave happier. I come in and then I feel it, and then I leave happier. So I'm always happy to be in your community. I'm looking forward to be in more events. I just wanted to invite everybody to your next gathering, which is like a workshop that you have about astrology. I know now it's becoming very trendy in social media, those cats talking about all the zodiacal signs and how the cats are the characters, which is super funny. So I'm sure you guys have seen those videos. Especially I'm Cancer. My birthday was last week. And Cancer cats are usually the sweetest, caring, loving, cutest ones. So tell me a little bit of astrology, like how long have you been in this realm? And also right now, when is your next event and how can we be part of these teachings?
Okay, so for me, astrology was my first entry into this whole world. I started reading about astrology at about the age of 11 because I was just really drawn to it. So I have always had it in my life. By the time I was a teenager, I was studying pretty formally. And then in my 20s, I did certifications and all that sort of stuff, right? But then I yoga and then psychology. And so for a long time, though, as a psychologist, counseling psychologist, I kept it kind of in the back of my toolbox unless people overtly knew what it was and could understand it and ask for it, because it's really misunderstood. You know, it gets understood. I mean, I think all these things are really cute. They're just not really astrology. They're cute, you know, like it's lovely. But, you know, when you work with somebody's natal chart, you're really working with a personal mandala. So, you know, psychologists like Carl Jung, he was an astrologer. You know, there's a hugely, again, there's thousands of years of history to astrology. And it's very, very complex and vast, and it goes across many cultures. So in saying all that, I, in the last couple of years, have decided to be more overt with it because I just see it as such a beautiful therapeutic tool. It helps people raise their consciousness. And if I can use something which will do that for people faster so they can access more of their life sooner rather than later, then I thought it's worth being misunderstood by a few people, right? So I've started bringing this. Now, what happened when I started to bring it out of the cupboard, so to speak, and run groups and classes and workshops and courses is this amazing community started to form around it where people are just fascinated with it. They love finding their own interaction with it. So what we've got after the summer is actually a continuation of what's a whole program.
Okay.
So I do a level 1 8-week, but I teach in kind of a very embodied shamanic way. So we're understanding the archetypes emotionally, physically, and relationally. So it's very much group therapy. I keep the groups small for that reason. And then I do a thing called Astrotherapy Fridays, where they're 3-hour workshops where you don't have to have much astrological knowledge to participate. And what we do is we pick a topic. Like recently we did, you know, the dark feminine, or the feminine that gets shamed in our modern cultures. And so we did an astrological workshop around that, and we're uncovering that through people's charts. I do ones for parents where we look at the moon signs of their children and theirs, and understand how to better meet their needs and help their children to feel fully sort of seen and safe So we do all sorts of different sort of topics, and that's on a Friday. But then the courses, and then there's a level 2 course, which is much more technical. And it's just beautiful. I've got all these astrologers around me now.
And the
they're
next
all
one? What is the next one?
so the next level 1 kicks off in October,
Okay.
and level 2 in September, and Astrotherapy Fridays comes back in September.
Oh, super.
And I can share with you all the details. But yeah, there's this beautiful community of astrologers now. And what I love watching is how people take this and connect with it and then make it useful in their own lives and communities. And it's really cool. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's important to know why we are acting sometimes as we act and how we react in the way, and then we can also understand our surroundings and not judge but just understand. So thank you so much, Briar. I definitely would love to know more about this astrology next course. I will be adding this information in our chat notes, including your social media, because you do have social media. You have your Instagram of the Free Spirit Collective. You have your personal Instagram as well. And I believe you are opening a YouTube channel as well.
Yep, we're so working on a few different things this summer and getting more present with social
And
media.
if you are looking to follow influencers in Dubai, get rid of those influencers that are not really providing value to you. Get more aligned into who are you right now and who would be the inspiration to receive on the funds so those can create and share it, right? So thank you so much for you guys to stick with us for 30 minutes. We're looking forward to see you next week. And if there was a moment in the conversation that sparkled your heart, we would love to know what was the moment. We would love to know your comments. And if you have any questions, please send it to us. And if you are in Dubai, please check the Free Spirit Collective space. And thank you so much, Briar.
Thank you, Jolly. Have a lovely weekend, okay?
Thank you. And remember that together we are stronger. Thank you again for sharing those 3 practices. And I actually made notes for everybody to always remember. The first one is coming back into your breath work, practicing a slow and long breath with a proper posture. I think it's very important to sit comfortable, but to also sit very tall. We tend to be hunched over. So I believe sitting tall will always allow you the energy, especially the Kundalini energy that Jules was referring at the beginning, to flow. Number 2, we commented about the visualization of elements, which is so important. And the number 3 is to quiet the mind, which is probably the hardest one, especially if you live in a busy city with a lot of sounds. It's probably the hardest one. That's why I choose to meditate at 5 in the morning when everything is very relaxed at that time. So thank you again. I think this is very powerful for anyone. And in terms of the timing, if somebody would ask you, like, how long should we practice this? You think, like, you commented about the 60 seconds, but what would be the most, I would say, effective time to actually put into practice these activities?
Great question. I often, with the newer practitioners coming to study with me, we'll start very small with 3 minutes. From 3 minutes, we work our way up to 11 minutes. And then from 11 minutes, you can go up even more to maybe a 31-minute meditation. For me, I practice now 31 minutes in the morning, but I started with 3-minute meditations. So you can do a lot in 3 minutes, believe it or not.
Yes, exactly. We are delightful to have you because I know you have so much to share. You also practice Qigong. It's actually another practice that slows you down, comes back into the elements as well. I think we will have to have you again.
Oh, it was a pleasure being on your show, Yoa. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I look forward to meeting you again somewhere in this great wide world where we connect for a Vipassana or a retreat and do one of our own.
100%. I also wanted to invite everybody to follow your social media channels. Can you please remind us your social media channels?
Sure, it's Jules Athena. So it's julesathena.com. My Instagram is Jules Athena, and I have Facebook pages too, and I can give you the links and you can connect them to this podcast and people can join. And perhaps you want to come to study Kundalini with me in Pai, Thailand, also Koh Phangan, Thailand, and join on a sailing boat retreat next summer here on the Greek islands.
100%. That sounds like a plan. I will add all the social media channels in our chatbot, and I'm just looking forward to meet you this year after a break of having been away from each other. I'm looking forward to hang out together and to create magical memories with magical pictures. So thank you so much, everyone. If you have anxiety or you feel stress, we all have the 3 techniques that actually you shared today. Remember that they are for free. It's only about becoming aware and practice 3 minutes a day. Yes?
Absolutely. 3 minutes.
Thank you so much, everybody. And remember that together we are stronger.